Good morning. I thought since we had our student here today, we'd talk about our youth programs and particularly Interact. But to review, we have Interact, which is our age 12 to 18, which is mostly high school age. We have Rotary, which is 18 to 30, which is the college and young adults. We have Rotary Youth Exchange, which we send students abroad to bring students here every year. And finally, we have RYLA, which this young lady's going to talk to us about in a few minutes, which we're very proud each year to be able to send a number of students. And I think she'll tell you it made a difference in her life. Right back a weekend, wasn't it, young lady? Let's talk about the Interact very quickly. Interact has been around for a long time, since 1996. Started in Melbourne, Florida. From there, it went national, and international. They're over, good Lord, I forget the number there. Every country in the world except China, North Korea, and Cuba have Interact clubs. It falls under the Auspice Partners and Service section of our community development programs. And it's successful because most of the time the clubs get behind it. People like Judy, who's been with myself, have been working with Lansdowne for a number of years, and we'll get to that in a moment. Like I tell the students, every action has a reaction. Youngsters are our future, guys and gals, both in Rotary and out. We dare not let a vital part of what shapes their thoughts and actions. We can't ignore that. Together we can do it, as we're doing with sponsoring the various things we do with the youth, particularly the Interactors, and the Rotary Club at Old Dominion. We have proven so many times with so many different opportunities within the Rotary world. Forget not, many of these students can and will be Rotarians. Turn on the Rotary light, shine on future leaders, particularly this young lady. We wish nothing but the best in her future endeavors. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce a very dear friend, someone who I consider family. I've got the pleasure of working with this woman for over 11 years. She has been a loyal, dedicated, focused educator as well as Interact advisor. She and her cohort, Ann King, unfortunately couldn't be with us this morning. I hope that, David, would you please stand? Can you give her a standing, give her some applause, guys. She's doing a heck of a job for us.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you so very much for all of your support with Interact Club at Lansdowne High School. We've had our club for 10 years, and we've been very fortunate to do a number of community service projects. And we want to thank you all also for sending students to RYLA. The number of years you guys have sent 2 of our students, and we appreciate being able to send 2 kids. And they have a great time. And my student Maya Owens is going to share with you her experience. Jamar Smith, who also attended, he wasn't able to make it this morning. He was hoping to, but it didn't happen. And Ann said that she wishes she could be here, but she is in Massachusetts. She's taken a college class for entrepreneurship that she's going to bring back to our city to help with our curriculum update. So thank you guys so very much, not only for Interact, everything you do for Lansdowne. You've helped me with the National Technical Honor Society that Ann and I also sponsor, and you've helped us with our engineering and our technology academy. And also, you know, Ann and I teach marketing, and DECA is our national student organization for students in marketing. I know a number of you have been judges for us, and I thank you all so very much for helping us with our state competition. It's always the end of February if any of you want to be judges. Always looking for them. So thank you guys so very much, and Maya is going to talk to you all for a few minutes. But I appreciate everything that you do for us. Thank you, thank you.
All right, well, hello everybody. So I have to say this on a personal level, pretty much. I am so happy that I had this experience with RYLA. I am so thankful that you guys sponsored this activity for myself and for Jamar, even though he isn't here. When I was there, I was able to learn a lot about leadership qualities and what it means to work with a team instead of just working by yourself and trying to promote yourself by yourself. Excuse me. So while I was there, we had a lot of guest speakers. Some came from Africa, some came just from local areas, and they all gave us topics about what you have to work towards when you're working with teammates. Not everybody has, the potential to rise up and take the challenge of leading a team. But those that do should be always mindful of what everyone else wants and what everyone else will appreciate to have in their working environment. While I was there were some good and bad. For example, the bad part, actually the worst part was that it was really cold there. So it was in Wakefield, Virginia. And I guess I was just spoiled by the good weather here, and occasionally very hot weather like we're going to have today. But it was, to me, it felt like negative 50 degrees. It was so cold. But besides that, everything else was fabulous. I had to meet with all these wonderful people. I was in a dorm with 7 other girls, which I've never done before. And thankfully, they were all very nice to me. We also had a whole bunch of, we had lunch, breakfast, dinner. They fed us very well.
No phones, no cars.
Oh, no, nothing like that. No, we couldn't have a phone. It was there, but we weren't allowed to use it during the day. Which a lot of the kids, especially the girls in my dorm, they were like, I can't have a phone, where's the Wi-Fi, and all this other thing. And I was like, yes, let's calm down. We only have a few days, so. But we didn't have a car. I had people drive me up there. And we had to walk everywhere, which, wasn't bad. It was just cold. So, but it was a great chance. It was out in the outdoors. I got to look up to the sky and see all the stars. I think you can see that in Virginia Beach because of all the city lights and all that. But it was just a wonderful experience overall. And I'm going to ODU in the fall. Yes. So I'm strongly considering going to the Rotary Club and trying to do this. Yeah. I'm going to do this next year. It was a great time. It was a blast. So thank you.
This morning we have the pleasure of listening to the District 7600 membership chair. It's quite an individual. He's been a Rotarian since the year 2010. From that day to this day, he's had perfect attendance. He was club president in 2012. That club won the Governor's Cup, led by the president most astutely. So he's got some credentials, to say the least. He has founded his own company called Impact Advisory Group. It's funny, it's listed him as a CEO and strategic advisor. He's the president. I don't know if there are any other employees, but I would hope he gets well paid. He attended a first ever summit in the headquarters in Evanston. And it was for Rotary Young Professionals. It was the first one held. It was held in September 2014. Roughly 30, 35 folks from throughout the country. So he's a believer. He sponsored 6 Rotarians. And he's going to talk about membership. Surprise. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. And thank you, Club, for hosting me this morning. I appreciate being here. It's been 3 years since I visited this club. And I think it was during the time when I was president of my club, and I had a friend who was interested in Rotary and brought him to a couple of different clubs. And you know what? He actually didn't end up joining Rotary. It kind of bums me out, but I'm still talking to him. I'm still talking to him about Rotary. I'm not going to stop inviting him until he tells me not to. Listen, I wanted to start off today and just say that it's a real honor to be here with you guys. I do love this club. This was the first singing club that I ever attended. And I remember the first time, because you guys just started kind of out of nowhere, and the first time it really surprised me. And then I really got into it, and I really love the fact that it just creates this friendship and this jovial atmosphere. And today I was really into it, especially since I got the feeling that you were kind of singing to me, right? You sing to all of your guests. So that's pretty cool. All of your service projects that you guys do with your road rally and your bowl-a-thon and your paint your heart out, just a really great service-oriented club. And then I'm also really pleased to hear about everything that you're doing with the next generation. Because that's one of the topics that is really popular in Rotary right now, is talking about how to attract that generation, how to engage that next generation, bringing young professionals to Rotary. That's a topic that Rotary has really been putting a lot of focus on recently. But what I want to talk about today is maybe a little bit membership, and then mostly a topic which I feel is a bit broader but has bearing on membership as well as everything else that makes a Rotary Club successful, as well as Rotary in general successful. So first of all, let's do a quick membership update since I'm here in somewhat of a capacity as membership chair as well as the guest speaker. We're actually doing pretty well as a district. I just wanted to let you know. This year has been our best year in recruiting new members in several years, which we're very pleased to say, and we have had a net increase in membership in District 7600, and many of our clubs, in fact the majority of our clubs, are either level or up, and that's a really big improvement over recent years. So I think that the tide has really turned when it comes to membership. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is what we're going to be focusing on for next year, this coming Rotary year starting on July 1st. So this past year, we really focused on acquiring new members and kind of that feet on the street, talking to more people, inviting more guests to your meetings and how to do that and why to do that. And this coming year, even though we're going to continue to focus on that, we're also going to shift our focus to the retention side as well, because it's really two sides of the same coin, and if you don't have both in place, neither one of them matters. Isn't that right? Who was it? Was it Pete? Who was it who I was talking to right at Paul? I think I was talking to, and he said, well, we're going to get 10 members this coming year, and we're going to do it, and I bet that you will. And then I said, what was my very next question?
How many are you going to retain?
How many are you going to keep, right? That is a completely different paradigm shift for me, because I come from a background that is very much numbers driven with my marketing and sales background, acquisition, recruiting. And so I've really had to do my own paradigm shift and realize that it's not just about how many you have coming in, it's about, do we provide enough value? In other words, do we provide what they're looking for to make them want to make Rotary not just a commitment for now, but a permanent, a lifetime commitment? When Joe said that I'm a believer, that's really true. I am a believer in Rotary through and through, and I can tell you with 100% certainty that for me, Rotary is a lifelong pursuit. And so what we're looking for are those people who feel the same way. They see what we see, and they want to be a part of it, not just now, but for their life, because that's what I believe the strength of the Rotary Club and our organization is. So we're going to focus on that, and we're going to center it around this concept of family. Because I think about what keeps people in Rotary. It may not always necessarily be the thing that gets them into Rotary. You guys with me on that? Because I think a lot of times people want to come to Rotary because they're looking for an outlet for service. They're looking to get involved in their community, be a part of something bigger than themselves. But then we found, and over again, all across the country and around the world, that when you ask people who have been in Rotary for some time, what keeps them there is the relationships that they've developed, the friendships. And don't you feel that your Rotary Club is like a family? And so that's what's really been on my heart lately, is family. And if any of you was at the district training assembly that we had last month, I talked about family, and it was hitting me very, very close to my heart, because we had just recently, as in I think maybe 10 days before that, lost my grandmother. She was 90 years old, a pillar of our community, the head of our family, started our family business 60 years ago and ran it until she was basically couldn't drive to work anymore, and that was at age 88. A wonderful, wonderful person that I have gleaned so much from of who I am in my life. And I was just feeling that as I was writing my talk for that day, and I said, you know what? Rotary's a family, and it's about family. And my grandmother's passing and some other recent events that have happened have really just beat it home for me about how important this concept of family is. And so the focus for this coming year in membership is going to be the family of Rotary. And we're going to talk about the things that make a good family, about how they engage with each other, about how they support each other. about how they complement each other, about how they have fun together and spend time outside of whatever their normal daily habits or pursuits are. So that's going to be our focus for this coming year. I just wanted to share just 5 minutes with you here at the beginning about what we're going to be focusing on. So yes, we're going to keep up that recruiting effort. That's never going to go away. It's not because of the numbers, you guys. It's because of the fact that we have something that can impact people's lives. Not just the lives of those that we help as a Rotary Club, but the lives of those who come to join us as members. Don't you feel like your own life has been impacted? So, let's talk about leadership. That's what I really wanted to talk about, because I think membership and leadership go hand in hand. Leadership, as it is a bit of a broader term, is something that will drive the acquisition of members. But good leadership is something that also helps to retain members, and leadership is one of those things where you hear people talk about it, but not all the time do we talk about why it's so important and how to create a culture that raises good leaders. So the title of my message was Raising Leaders in Rotary. And I use that term raising on purpose. Because in a way, when you develop leadership, that's kind of what you're doing. Emerging leaders in an organization, you sort of raise them into that leadership role. So I have my notes on my phone, so I'm not checking my text messages while I'm talking to you. Just want you to know. I know my generation's bad about that, but we're not that bad. So, listen.
Yeah.
Hang on real quick. I'm just going to reply just real quick. All right, so why? Let me start with the why. I'm a big believer in the why. So why? Why this concept of raising leaders? Well, I think that more than any other thing, leadership is what plays the biggest bearing on the long-term success and viability of any organization. Both small on a macro scale, or on a micro scale, or large on a macro scale. You can apply it to this Rotary Club. You can apply that concept to our districts and zones. Apply that concept to Rotary International. And as a matter of fact, we can even apply that concept to our country and our global community. Would you agree with me on that? You see, I feel that part of the disenfranchisement that citizens of our country feel towards the government and the, that sort of feeling of, gosh, there are a lot of challenges going on today, and I don't feel like our leadership is really necessarily addressing it. That's coming from the fact that I believe we need better leadership in roles of authority. So stay with me on this, okay? I promise, I'm actually not getting political, okay? Doesn't matter what side of the aisle or in the middle if you find yourself. I think that there is somewhat of a dearth of leadership everywhere. Why do you think Congress has an approval rating of 12%? Right? It's leadership, you guys. It really is. And I think that Rotary is positioned uniquely compared to so many other organizations because of the scope and depth of Rotary. We're in every major community. And the kinds of things that we teach here. Could you imagine if all 535 members of Congress lived the 4-way test? For real? Right? Number one, is it the truth? Well, I think that knocks most of them out right there on the first one. My point is, these concepts of service above self and the 4-way test and helping others and working together and achieving diversity and achieving consensus, despite the fact that we have many differing opinions and ideologies, that's something Rotary does very well and has done so for 110 years in communities. Why can't we have that in our leadership? We need that. And you see, Rotary is well positioned to be able to churn out these leaders. I've spoken often before about how one of the often overlooked roles of Rotary is that of a leadership incubator, where people who are emerging leaders can come and become a part of something where they have an opportunity to learn leadership and to practice leadership in an area where it's safe and where they're mentored by others who have done that and are currently doing that. Somebody asked me, well, what are you going to do about young professionals? How do you attract young professionals? People think that you have to be 70 years old to join Rotary. Okay, well, no, you don't. But I think one of the things is that we need to embrace that perceived weakness as a strength. Because there are those young professionals out there who want what Rotary has to offer right now. Like me. When I first joined my club, one of the things that I was attracted to about our club was the fact that I'd have the opportunity to seek mentorship from people who have been there, done that, succeeded, and want to pass on that knowledge in an area where service and the truth and helping others is the core concept. So I think that the types of people you're looking for aren't necessarily this blanket group of young professionals. In fact, they may not even be young professionals. That's sort of a relative term anyway. I think what we're looking for are people who do want to grow and better themselves and want to be taught and mentored by leaders. I thought it was great to hear the discussion at our table over here about, well, he was my mentor and I'm her mentor, and I think that's just so wonderful. And that's what Rotary and real leadership is all about. So how do we raise leaders through Rotary? Well, it starts with knowing how to identify emerging leaders. So how do we? It's so important, you guys, to understand what those leaders in the rough look like before they've actually achieved that stride in leadership experience. What are some of the traits, the common characteristics of good leaders that you can spot before they even have a chance to be in leadership positions? I wrote a few down on here. I wrote that leaders do. A lot of times people think about a leader as someone who kind of sits back and points out everything that needs to be done. That's not necessarily true. Real good leaders are ones who do. In fact, the speed of the leader is the speed of the team, and so oftentimes the best leaders are the ones who are in the trenches with you and doing more than anyone else. It's hard to keep up with someone that has the work ethic of a real leader. So a true leader is not someone who sits back, and yes, I know corporate management theory and all of that, people say delegation, it's all about delegation. Listen, I don't necessarily believe in delegation either, because I think that delegation is more of just assigning a task to someone versus the concept of empowerment, which is to give someone the goal and the objective and let them use and develop their own creativity to accomplish that objective while you're helping them along the way. That's leadership. Okay, so I think that leaders are hands-on and leaders do. So who are the doers in your club? And when you attract these new members, get them involved right away. Get them into something right away. Don't let a new member sit idle trying to figure out where their place is in the club. The sooner you engage someone, I'm going to need a water. Can someone help me with that? I didn't bring a drink up here. Thank you. The sooner you can get someone involved in an area of passion in the club, the better. So now we're kind of getting to this retention piece, this family of Rotary, right? In a family, in a good family, everyone has a role to play. Isn't that right? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Can we give her a round of applause?
I'm a doer.
She's a doer. Well, that actually goes right into my next one. Leaders are eager to serve. The person who stands up, takes the initiative, and gets it done. So, anyway, but like I was saying, in a successful family, everyone has a role and everyone feels valued. Isn't that right? So, do you go out of your way to make your new members feel valuable to the club? or are they just the new members? And it's so surprising how long of a time can pass before someone really gets involved, before someone notices that they haven't been involved, and then suddenly sitting around looking at the membership reports, oh, we haven't seen such and such in 5 weeks, maybe someone should reach out. Many times, even though that's good to do, but many times too late. Okay, so have we gotten them involved early on? And that'll give you a chance to see who these doers are. All right, so leaders do. The next one is leaders are eager to serve. I love the ones that just volunteer and they want to jump in. And you'll find that, especially with new members and as you're bringing on younger professionals from the community, they want to serve, they want to prove themselves, they want to show that they're capable. So let's give them the chance to do that. You know, mistakes are going to happen, aren't they? I mean, I've made lots of mistakes in my life. A lot of raising good leadership in a club like this has to do with allowing people to make their mistakes as they're growing as a leader. And being there to not just admonish somebody, that's not what it's about teaching. But it's also about letting them know it's okay to make mistakes. I can remember, I mean, I'm just going through my head about how many examples I could probably give. But I think one of the biggest mistakes that, not a big mistake, but one of the mistakes I made that I thought I was really going to get chewed out for was when I worked for my uncle. It's my very first job ever, and he owned an auto body shop on Warwick Boulevard in Newport News. And I was 15 years old, and I would do some of the stuff like sanding the cars and all of that. Didn't really get to paint. I don't think he trusted me with the paint gun quite yet, right? It's real art to that. But I remember one time I was pushing a car into the bay, and I left the door open on the other side and pushed the car. And you know, once you get that car rolling, it's got a little momentum, and by the time I realized that the door was about to hit the wall, it was too late. You can't grab that car and stop it. So sure enough, I watched that car roll on into the thing and bend the door backwards on its hinges and made a god-awful sound. And I just knew my uncle was going to be furious with me because, you know, painting cars is one thing, but fixing something like that is costly and time-consuming. I thought I was going to get yelled at. And the way my uncle handled that day, just looked at it, looked at me, shrugged his shoulders, said, all right, let's fix it. And then we worked at fixing that thing together. And I could tell he was not happy about it, but he didn't beat me down. I mean, he could have made me feel, I already felt like I didn't know what I was really doing, but if he had just beat me down that day, why did you do that? I can't believe you did that. Now we're in trouble. Like, you know, the customer, I would have felt so bad. I probably would have not felt very good about myself the rest of the time I worked there. But you see, he didn't do that. I guess my point about telling that story was the fact that people do make mistakes, and it's okay to let them make their mistakes, even if you know it's going to happen. Sometimes because what they get from it, learning from that mistake, is more valuable than not making it in the first place. All right, another one. Leaders have a positive attitude. So when you're looking to raise leaders in your club, look for people with a great attitude. I can't stand people who are drainy. You know what I'm talking about with drainy people? They drain the energy from you. People who are constantly complaining. Goodness, life is too short to be complaining. I understand a gripe here and there, and we wake up on the wrong side of the bed sometimes. That happens. But you don't need to gripe about it all the time. And so look for these people that have a positive attitude because they uplift the people around them. A positive attitude is something that's really contagious. I think I got that from the Successories poster, right? It's got the match and the other matches right next to it. Well, it's like a fire. And those people that have that infectious positivity, those are the ones that you want to take and harness into leaders. Another one is emerging leaders, raising these leaders. You want to look for people who have ideas, original thought and initiative to put something into place. Initiative as simple as her being the one to get up and get me my water. Thank you. Or initiative to put something into place that is much bigger than you even thought this club could handle a project for. There's no such thing as a bad idea when you're doing the brainstorming, okay? Now, there are bad ideas in execution, all right? But you don't shoot anyone's ideas down. Look for these people with great ideas. So the next thing that you want to do after you spot who the leaders are going to be is you want to encourage them. You want to plant the seed, especially with your younger professionals that might be coming in. They may not see themselves as a leader yet, but because you've spotted the things about them that would make them one, it's up to you to plant that seed of encouragement in them. When I was in elementary school, we moved to a new neighborhood. I came in 4th grade, so all the friendships and the little cliques had already formed, and I was something of an outsider. And I was a friendly person, but a lot of times the friendliest kid is the one who sometimes gets picked on the most, the nicest ones. And I can remember my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Evans, planting this idea in my head, and it came out of nowhere. I don't know why. Maybe she spotted some of these things in me. She said, "You should run for president of the student council for next year." Me? Why? Why? She told my mother to talk to me about it too. So I said, okay. And I went for it. And I was not by any means the most popular kid in school, and I was running against the most popular kid in school. And I remember the day that they assembled all the students, in the auditorium. This was actually before all the schools had central AC. And it was a hot late May day, 92 degrees. And now the kids are sweating. And I'm standing up in front of the microphone, double sweating because I was nervous and it was hot. And I said, if you elect me president, I'm going to write notes and letters to the city council, and I'm going to get central air conditioning for this school. And an eruption of excitement and noise. And I won that election by a landslide. Now, that was not an empty promise. I did fulfill that, okay? I did write the letters, and I did go to the city council meeting anyway. They got it 6 years later. Sometimes it just takes a spark, okay? Maybe it takes a little time to initiate or to actually make it happen. All right, and then finally, the last piece of it is to give them the support and the encouragement and the mentorship that they need to thrive in that role. Here in your club, okay, we talked about the mistakes, and we talked about the encouragement. The other thing is to help people work through their fears. And fear can be a big motivator. It can be a big detractor. I think fear is one of those things that can hold people back from their true potential. Fear is a strong emotion, isn't it? And a lot of times when people are just starting in a leadership position, especially when they're surrounded by leaders, like in a Rotary club, that fear can take over. All right, so we want to help them through that. Because a lot of times the fear that you thought, the thing you thought you were afraid of, isn't really that big of a deal anyway, is it? I think my favorite example of this is when my wife and I were first married, and we had a small apartment. And one day we awoke in the middle of the night to a noise. Woke up and looked at each other. Well, we both. And I thought I heard someone trying to come in through the window or something like that. That just fear, paralyzing fear that you have. Have you ever had that happen? You heard a noise in the house you don't usually hear. But it was real. And then we sat up and kind of leaned back in the bed again, and just as we were about to doze off, I heard it again. And it was real. I mean, like, it actually happened. It was a real noise. Something like a rustling, like that. Just like that. And so we're just sitting up, we're like, okay, that was real. I walked into the kitchen, looking around, didn't see anything. Maybe someone was outside lurking, trying to get in through a window, so I grabbed a knife. And I went back to the bedroom, and I laid down with that knife like in my hand under the covers. And just as I started to fall asleep, woke back up and there was the noise again. And I jumped out of bed. And I ran into the living room, and I said, "Who's here?" And I look up, and there was one of those foil balloons like for your birthday, getting caught in the ceiling fan and spun back out across the room, and then getting drawn back in like every 15 minutes or so and getting hit again, right? I thought someone was in the living room about to murder us. So I guess my point is that the fear that people may have, especially when they're in a new leadership position, may not actually be really well founded. And so as a good mentor, you need to help guide people through that and help manage some of those emotions. So anyway, you know, this concept of leadership, raising leaders in Rotary, let's keep in mind that what we do here in terms of raising leaders and engaging, especially younger professionals as they come in, is not just important to Rotary, but it's also important to our communities and to our country at large. So let's go out there and find them, you guys. Thanks for having me today.
Chris, thank you. Don't go anywhere. Thank you, sir. I'm sure you have a number of these in case you want to remember where we are. And I know you have the 4-way test.
Thank you.
So
Can I fill this up before?
absolutely. Help yourself. Fill it twice. Before you go, we have 4 cards left. Queen of Hearts. $858 on the line.
All right.
Please draw the winning ticket.
Can I buy a ticket real quick?
No.
All right, 4 cards left.
You don't even know what numbers I have.
388-0897.
Last 3 numbers. What are they?
897.
897. Who's got it? Is it Phil again?
Got it here.
Oh, Ken Scott. All right. Thank you, folks. Have a great week.
I don't have to listen to it anymore.
If I don't get the Queen of Hearts, you do.
You got a 1 in 4 chance.